Welcome to another video of our beloved Chelsea. Chelsea news as Mauricio Pochettino is under extreme pressure to change the Blues' reign. But first, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and don't forget to like. Chelsea are once more facing down the barrel of another expensive managerial payoff after Mauricio Pochettino took yet another step towards an early exit. The Blues boss is under as much pressure as ever in his first season at the club following yet another lackluster performance on Saturday against Brentford. The 52-year-old, who celebrated his birthday on the day of the 2-2 draw in West London, was once again unable to inspire a standout display. It left supporters in the away end chanting against him and the owners, as well as for Jose Mourinho. However, having already parted with two permanent managers since taking over the club in May 2022, it isn't gearing up to be a simple decision for Todd Boehly and Clearlake Capital. Not only do the club wish to assess their latest head coach come the end of the season after he signed an initial 2-year deal, the process behind splitting with bosses is having a larger impact than ever before. Chelsea have already spent over £100 million on settlement payments with managers over the years of hiring and firing, and that money is now the center of more attention. With an enormous focus on transfer spending under the current American-based administration, there have also been sizable payoffs for Thomas Tuchel and Graham Potter. The latter, specifically, was the center of incredible financial inefficiency after signing a 6-year contract in September 2022, having already cost £20 million in fees to leave Brighton alongside his coaching staff. They then had to reach a compensation agreement with the Englishman after sacking him just 7 months into that deal, something that carried yet more significant financial implications. With European football now set to escape the club for the second consecutive year and all eyes turning towards the new profitability and sustainability rules, PSRs, it is not an open and shut case for the club to move on from Pochettino. Speaking to Grosvenor Sport, football finance expert Dr. Dan Plumley believes that the threat of possible punishments from organizations for financial breaches could change the way the managerial market works entirely. "We don't talk about that, but it does impact the bottom line," he said. "That's the nature of it. If you have to pay a manager out of a contract, it's no different from letting a player go and whether you win or lose on the way you've structured the contract through amortization. If you've got to pay a manager off, that impacts the overall profit or loss of the business. So, it will calculate towards PSR, which is why clubs are obviously mindful of it." Looking at how that might look in the future, UEFA's new version of the financial stability regulations includes managers in the squad cost, which has not been included in what is currently PSR in the Premier League or UEFA's old version. If the Premier League looked to pivot towards UEFA, then we are going to have to start talking about that more because it's already in UEFA's framework. I think that there are two things on that. One is yes, it's a factor. And two, is what does that look like moving forward if the Premier League changes their version of PSR to align with UEFA's framework? Chelsea are already towing a fine line on the surface, having spent big for very little tangible reward. Although they were not found to have gone over the allowed £105 million threshold for a rolling 3-year period, the true test is yet to come after continued business on an unprecedented scale. After Everton's points deduction earlier in the season, and the prospect of yet more to come for Nottingham Forest, there has been a noticeable squeeze from English sides. Amid pressure from the government to tighten up the monetary running across the football pyramid, the Premier League may yet change its regulations once more. Plumley thinks that a move toward UEFA's percentage-based system is almost certain. "I can't see it playing out any other way in the long run. It just makes sense to align them, which is what the Premier League did in the first version. All they did was make the acceptable loss higher because you've got promoted clubs that need a bit of scope to flex if they need to. They were almost a carbon copy in many ways, and I think it stands to reason then that if UEFA have got this directive across European football for their competitions, and we've now got a Europa Conference League, so there are more teams that's going to be competing in UEFA competitions than ever before. I just can't see any other way than the Premier League at least trying to mirror it as best as possible." For Chelsea, it certainly remains a key part of their forward planning. After Pochettino previously dug his heels in at Paris Saint-Germain in 2022, having been told of the call to sack him, it is one that the owners can do little but take into account when now looking towards how structure of the club from head coach upwards might look.